Join with me today is Valley Flying, and we are recording another video together. If you want to watch me in a super pissed off mood and salty, head over to Valley Flying's channel and watch that video. I was not in a good mood when I recorded your video. I was just not.
First half. Second half, you call yourself out, and it gets fun after that.
I was not having a good time. Okay, let's talk about something positive before we get into
2 million gold.
All right, so we got 3 QR codes. This is the first one. This is the second one. I've already made videos about these two. So this is 2 million gold. This is some training materials, and then this one right here is another 2 million gold.
2 million gold,
which just came out yesterday, and I believe there's going to be
there should be another one today.
There should be another fourth one. So let's talk about the QR codes. What do you think about the QR code situation?
It's a little complicated. Other than that, I think it's fine. Yeah, there's, I guess, it's a security risk, and I guess if you don't know the source, there is a risk of the QR code going to a weird place or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, I'm getting it from Scopely, and unless they're doing something malicious, I just don't see too much of a risk. Maybe that's some naivete on my part. But what are your thoughts on it?
Well, in general, scanning QR codes or clicking links from unknown sources can be a certain risk, and I'm just worried about bad actors creating fake,
like a fake one of that.
Yeah, like a fake version of it. I want to attest that these are not fake, and these are good ones right here.
Not the ones in our video. The ones in our videos are good.
Yeah, these ones are here, but like in general, you don't want to scan QR codes or links. Now, if you're on your phone right now, you can screen grab this. You can hit a screenshot, and when you hit this, did you know how to do this? I just found this out.
Yeah, I did a. Oh, I don't know that one.
Okay, so when you screen grab this, and it's a picture in your phone on an iPhone, you can click this button right here. Then you click on that, and it'll say "Open in Marvel Strike Force," and then you open in Marvel Strike Force, and you get the bonus stuff.
Okay, so what I was doing is I was getting the same result. I was just holding onto that QR code, and then I was getting that same options to open it. But I guess there's a couple ways to get the same result.
I just didn't think to open it. Now, as far as actual security risks, I don't know. I mean, I guess they're getting more information about the person that scans the QR code. I know that there's been a change in the way that Apple and Google share information with developers. I've heard developers say that they're not getting as much information from them, and it's made marketing to their consumers more challenging. Because then the people were sharing data with other people. So I wonder if this enhances that in some weird way. I mean, I know that's a part of most tech companies is they collect data on their users. I mean, that's the whole point of like social media in general, right?
Based on this, and I guess you got this from Google and stuff like that, but based on what this says, they're getting your location, your time and date that you scanned the device. I figure they have that information anyway. So for myself, I don't have a problem with that. If you do have a problem with the QR codes, maybe you don't want to scan these, but I don't have a problem with them knowing that stuff. So I'm scanning them.
So I want to clarify. I was really salty in your video, but I do want to double down on something that has bothering me. Is I feel like the redeem codes worked like to a certain level, and people liked the redeem codes, I mean, there was always people that had issues with the QR codes, like, oh, I can't get it to work. But this has had just as many frustrations, and I feel like the codes worked well enough. I just don't understand why they are taking systems in Marvel Strike Force that are widely liked by the community, like the redeem codes that we had from before, and changing it. It's like somebody over there is set on fixing things that aren't broken. I'm dead. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know. I think they have a reason. I don't think they're just changing it just for the sake of changing it. I think they have some reason. It may not make sense to us. It probably makes sense to them though. So I'll give them the benefit of that. Probably has some. It's. I don't like the extra steps though, but
there's whatever. Some sort of data. Now let's talk about the big screw up update to Peggy Carter and Orb issue now. I feel like there's a couple different people, but let's explain the situation before we talk about whether it's good, bad, or whatever. Commanders, earlier today, an offer went out in the path to Peggy Carter. This offer unintentionally contained the Agent 13 orbs, not the path to Peggy Carter orbs. Remove this offer.
So the real orbs, not the fake orbs. The real orbs were in there.
Yeah, so these Agent 13 orbs are the ones that have a minimum 6, average 9.3, plus they give a chance of doing like 180.
Yeah.
And the Pats of Peggy Carter orbs are the trash orbs that have like a really low chance of getting 100, but a guaranteed drop of nothing, right?
Zero. Yeah,
Zero. So remove this.
There are some pity orbs that you could eventually get at Agent 13 after, but yeah, it guaranteed zero though.
But this orb is night and day. So remove this offer to address the situation. We're doing the following. We'll be bringing back the offer containing the Agent 13 orbs with a max limit of 5. Your purchase limit will vary based on how many times the original offers were purchased. The offer will return on February 12th and be active for 3 days. So, did you buy this?
Yes, I did. On the first day, I bought it 2 times. And then since it went live again, I bought it 3 more times. So I spent $25. I'm not sure why I did that, actually. I guess just to make content, because this character is a war character. I don't like war.
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of value for her outside of that. I did that anyway, mainly because I'm making content and potentially make content from that. If I was just playing this, I probably wouldn't have done that. So I don't know. I did it 5 times though total.
Yeah. So like for me, I bought the $25 thanks to a donation from Ceci. I got to put the donation on the screen here in a minute. But I don't know if I would have bought it, but basically somebody bought it for me. There it is right there. And I got a 6-star Peggy, but for what? It's a war character. War has been reduced to 2 days a week. Let's talk about the second part. For any player who purchased Peggy Carter offers before the orb went live, we'll be sending Ultra Cores and Power Cores reflecting percentage discount on the purchases made. Please note that we promised players who have purchased a 7 yellow star will still apply. And this actually affected me because I had spent $50 on Peggy from before. So I already had her unlocked, and I do that with every character. And this is what they sent me. So what's your take on
10%.
This second part? Yeah.
All right. So what they said initially, I'm not sure if you made a video on what it initially said, but if you got to 7-star by purchasing her offer, so if you just purchased the offer, they would give you 2,000 of those ultra credits, which is about $200 worth of just in-game purchasing power. And then 2,000 of the power cores, which for me is worth about $20 or so. So they gave you about $220 back if you got her all the way to 7. Initially, they weren't going to do anything if you didn't get that 7-star. Also never really addressed anybody that spent a bunch of power cores to unlock her. So it does give a little bit back. I think that's okay. I mean, what you bought, you go out the $50 offer for Peggy Carter, you got to enjoy for a few days early, and then this erroneous thing went live. I don't know. I mean, obviously the best thing would be to not make errors. At this point, once the error is made, is this the best solution? I don't know. I guess they could have done better. They could have done worse too.
The cynic of me says, and I'm sure you've seen this comment, and I have an opinion on it, but the cynic of me kind of leans to the side of like, well, they still made money off of this error. They screwed up, and people potentially bought this. Do you think they did this on purpose, or this was an accident?
That's always the question, right? Is Decimal Point Jeff being malicious with the stuff, or is he just screwing up? I don't know. They might have been such bad offers for Peggy. We mentioned this in my video. We right before they released Peggy, they said war is going from 3 times a week to 2 times a week. So that might have diminished the sales of Peggy Carter.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a way to make up for it, because like myself, I'm not going to buy this character, and I just spent that $25. I don't know. Maybe this is a way for them to make up the low sales and reducing war or something like that. Because it got $25 out of me that I wouldn't have spent.
Yeah, so I gotta tell you, I suppose it's possible, but I think it comes down to the adage of malice. Why never attribute malice when another alternative could be incompetence. For me, when I'm saying, is this some sort of malicious intent on Scopely's part, or are they incompetent? I lean towards the incompetent side. Now,
yeah. I agree with you. Being in the Envoy chat, seeing the responses, I think it is incompetence.
Yeah,
every instance.
I suppose it's possible. It's possible it's malice, but I think generally it's just incompetence. So this is the ISO counterattack for Joaquin, and the reason why I'm putting this on the screen here is that this information is not found in game or on the character screen in MSF.gg. It's literally found only in the blog, in the original text or Envoy videos. in the PDF file sent to us. So I just wanted to throw that up on the screen.
We've been asking for this for like 2 years. This in game, or so we ability to see this, or even on MSF.gg, the ability to see this.
Well, you remember when we were in Santa Monica and we were there with Ty J and Toxie there at that restaurant. Do you remember that? Do you remember the dinosaurs outside? The hedge dinosaurs that were spitting water out of their mouths? Do you remember that? I don't know. It said Monica. Anyways, I was standing there and I asked them, the guys in charge of MSF.gg, can you do this? And they said, if the information is not in game, they don't have a way of putting on the website. They have no way of automating it. And I was just like,
they were doing it manually. Every time a new character come out, they would do it manually.
Well, and I said before they were, because this is the problem I have with that, is before MSF.gg was bought by Scopely and they were running it themselves, they had the information, which is wild. It was there before.
Didn't what they say they can do it in English, but they have to do it manually for other languages?
I don't know.
I misunderstood? Because they can't pull it in English and then the translation, I don't know. There's something weird with it.
And what he told me is, we were doing it manually. We were interpreting the data in game and inputting manually. And now that it's all automated and they pull in-game data, they can't do it. I go, that's not a good reason. It's like now it gets bought by Scopely and it gets worse.
It has to be in game somewhere though, right? For it to work in game, it has to be in game somewhere. So I don't know. I guess it's really, really complicated in the back end of this game, but it has to be in game somewhere. Okay. Or it wouldn't work.
We're going to make a weird transition. I'm just going to make a case that I don't really care that much about Peggy Carter and the War Team. We played them inside of the test server on that Crucible tournament, and they were not that great inside of Crucible, right? They just weren't.
I played it wrong for my first attack, and they smashed them. But then when I went into the team that could actually beat them, they didn't.
But it's a war team, right? And
it's a war team.
Yeah, but in all post-Ares stat-boosted teams generally have some value in their alternate game mode. So like sometimes the war characters are good in Crucible, and sometimes the Crucible characters are good in War. We will see.
Sometimes.
I'm not that excited about it. Now, on the flip side, I'm excited about Starjammers, Lilandra, which we're going to talk about, and Howard the Duck and Havoc. What's your take on
Howard the Duck? Finally, after all these years of that awesome April Fool's joke that one content creator fell for, he's in game, and I love it. Havoc coming to game too. Weird that we have Havoc as kind of the guy on the Starjammers and not his father. What was his name? Corsair, but I don't know. I guess it's cool. It's cool. Right. Havoc was a leader of this team at one point.
Yeah, and the one thing we're gonna just go through Havoc real quickly. You pointed out to me X-Men, which means he might be useful with Cerebro, or not Cerebro, but Professor X someday. And so there's some X-Men synergy right there. We'll see. Howard the Duck is super interesting. And before we talk about Howard the Duck's passive, I just want to point out Lilandra will be for free, and we're going to talk about whether that is a really big deal or not. But Lilandra has in her passive, restricts the ability for enemies to gain speed up. This character and all Starjammer allies cannot gain slow. So what does that mean, right? That's like, shuts down a lot of teams, right?
Yeah. You can't slow this team. The other team's not going to get faster. So, they're really managing the speed, especially with this passive that you're going to read from Howard the Duck.
Howard the Duck's passive is bonkers, specifically Crucible. So, right now with Lilandra and that team composition, we've already restricted the ability of getting slow on our team and speed up on the other team, which is probably going to shut down teams like Illuminati. But this is a bonkers passive, and it's a little bit confusing, and we're going to take some time to dig in this. In Crucible, before this character takes a turn, speed bar cannot be filled or reduced by any enemy for themselves, allies, or enemies. If this character has 4 more Starjammer allies, the speed of all enemies can only be altered by positive and negative effects. Now, the thing that is interesting is that this is just before a character takes a turn, but these are very powerful mechanics. What is your thoughts on these?
That's a counter to Kahori. That's a counter to Mephisto. And I think the confusion comes from speed bar and speed. Speed bar, that's your turn meter. So that has affected like the ultimate from not the ultimate from Super Scroll, the special from Super Scroll, the empowered basic from, or the ultimate from Apocalypse that gives him the 100% for the turn meter for his basic. So that is what the turn meter, the speed bar is, and the speed is like their base stat, and that's manipulated by couple characters manipulated in their passive, but there's a lot that manipulate speed bar, aka turn meter, in their passive. And this passive is taking care of both of those things: speed, the base stat, and the speed bar.
Right. And so this is just before a character takes turn. So you mentioned two characters that definitely benefit from that would be Mephisto and Kahori. So it's not quite the same as Captain Britain, because Captain Britain basically has the speed of this character, in each Illuminati ally can only be reduced by slow, which is fine. In Crucible, speed bar cannot be filled or reduced by any character for themselves, allies, or enemies. This does not apply to speed bar gain through normal means. So this effectively shuts down like a lot of different characters, but this right here is just before a character takes a turn. So I think that's going to affect the two characters. Now this, I guess we're trying to separate the difference between turn meter gain and actual manipulation of the speed stat, right?
Yeah.
And turn meter gain or loss would be like Super Scroll. Super Scroll is all about turn meter gain, like all throughout his kit, right? And then the other one would be like Icarus and Circe have turn meter reduction. So that's what this first part is referring to. And the second part is this character has 4 or more Starjammer allies. The speed of all enemies can only be altered by positive and negative effects. And speed, that kind of refers to like Emma, which has
Emma manipulates that.
Yeah, well,
Man Thing. Those are the two that we thought of off the top. But there may be more, but those two characters, their passive actually manipulate the speed stat, the base stat of the characters in battle.
Yeah, so this is the passive on the new Emma, which is kind of has a similar wording. Non-mythic enemies can have their speed increase. And so this type of passive impacts Man Thing, where he gives 20% speed to himself and all allies, or the OG Emma, which knocks down speed enemies. On all enemies. So speed is different than turn meter. I think it's going to be a good team.
Howard's going to affect both of them, though. Howard's going to affect both in Crucible.
Yes, before this character takes a turn. So you almost don't want this guy to take a turn. And then lastly, let's talk about Lilandra before we talk about Battle World. I'm super skeptical on this. On face value, this looks kind of nice that Lilandra will be for free. They said over a 10-week period, people that regularly play the game will get a 7 yellow Lilandra. What's your take on this?
Good. And we talked about some theories or like some conspiracy theories, but at face value, this is good. I'm just going to take it as face value right now until they give me any information that it changes this. I think this is good. I think we're all going to get it for free. If they change it, I'll be very unhappy if they change some details on this. But yeah, battling Crucible, battling the raid, stuff we're going to do anyway. Kind of reminds me of what they did for Mr. Negative, just kind of free release characters. There was no sales for him, no orbs for him, and they just kind of gave him away. And you just, as long as you're playing over time, you're going to get Mr. Negative. And I kind of get that feeling with Lilandra as well.
Okay, so two things to take note of for me is that the character is a little bit uneventful for me, definitely not on the order of a legendary. I mean, it's a free character, right? So it's nothing like Old Man Logan, Shadow King, or anything like that. She is 100% required for Professor X.
That's the important thing.
Yeah, and so what they're saying in here is that the way to get extra shards and to get her faster than the 10-week period is going to be the showcase events for the Starjammers team. So this is the way that I see this playing out, is if you want to be the first person to get a maxed out Professor X, you're essentially going to have to buy the entire Starjammers team to max out the showcase events. To max out the showcase events will give you a faster progression towards Lilandra. That's my prediction. That's my prediction.
Maybe. And that prediction could be 100% accurate. I'm just saying they haven't said that yet. So maybe Professor X is after those 10 weeks, sometime after April 18th was just when I'm estimating those 10 weeks is going to end. Maybe it's before that. And if it's before that, which would make sense for them because they want to sell the Starjammers, right? It would make sense for it to do that before that. But if they do it after, then I don't know, they're just giving free stuff away. I don't know what their business model is.
Yeah, I don't know what this means. I'm a little bit skeptical. And then lastly, let's talk about Battle World. Battle World, couple things. Battle World is now going to be a monthly event. So it's going to happen over a 4-day period instead of, every week. Spec Ops may come back in the future, but they're removing Spec Ops. What's your take on those two situations there?
Good. I didn't like Spec Ops. The Spec Ops, it was a sacrifice for removing some characters from your roster, gave you really no benefit except for some extra victory points. And if you're working towards that top end milestone for null, you already had the victory points you needed. So really made no difference. The thing that made it painful when they first introduced this was that they had milestones tied to placing characters in Spec Ops. So even if you didn't want to do Spec Ops, you kind of had to complete it for these milestones, which was really bad introduction of Battle World. I have no problem with them removing it because it gave no benefit. There needed to be a trade-off. You needed some benefit for that sacrifice or not make the sacrifice. Now, so they've removed the sacrifice because they're not going to do the benefit.
Yeah,
so makes sense.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, Spec Ops didn't really make sense. I didn't think it was good, and this is just an example of them copying somebody else's homework and getting it wrong. This was Battle World is a copy of a game
That's
mode.
a better way to put it than you said in my video. That's copying someone's homework and getting it wrong.
Yeah,
that's exactly what they did.
That's exactly what they did. Yeah. So they copied Galaxy of Heroes, and it was not like a widely liked game mode. It was kind of like lukewarm. But the Spec Ops in that game did a couple things. It kept the battles from being stale because sometimes you had to sacrifice a very important character to go into the Spec Ops. Now, there was an advantage to doing the Spec Ops. If you did the Spec Ops, you got boosts for the next day's nodes. So it was like this decision, do I want to have a harder time today, or do I let the
easier time tomorrow,
the biggest crack in my alliance do the Spec Ops, and then I have an easy time because I have a weaker roster? Like, there was actually some thinking behind it, and some advantages and disadvantages, but that did not happen in this version. It was just a hassle and inconvenience, and it was
a dumbed down version of it.
Yeah, and also it just felt like it was a system that favored veteran players or heavy spenders and severely penalized, mid-game, early game players. So anyways, then Battle Royale Siege lasts 4 total days, 3 standard zones, and then there's going to be the Null's boss battle. Each zone will have 3 missions. Elite missions require Astral or a secondary team, but it's really just Astral. Herald missions, standard missions. Each mission will have unique requirements and the mods to make the missions more challenging. What do you think about this part? Did you take a look at any of those mods that they're talking about there?
Looks harder. I played a little bit on the playtest. A lot of it was auto, so I don't know exactly how they affected the battle. Just kind of seeing if I was still able to auto it or not. Didn't play the null fight on the test server, but I guess it's good. They're making it a little more challenging. We'll wait to see if that adds more fun, or if it's just about getting the rewards from the null fight, getting those null shards.
Yep.
I hope it adds more fun.
Okay, and then they're making some changes to null. There was a glitch, and basically, if you were able to kill off the new Emma with bleed or by the minions when she revived, it messed up the damage cap restrictions on null, and people could get billions of damage. Looks like they fixed that. Now, they said in the video that there was no revives. They had to clarify right here. Clarification on null boss fight: characters can be revived if they are not killed by null. And then they updated that bleed damage will no longer break the cap of damaging null can receive. So make sure to prepare for this change. And then they've got the shards. What's your take on these changes to null?
Sounds good. I guess it kind of like you said on our video. It's like you have to play in this lane. There was some theory crafting. The community figured out another way to beat null And then now you're like, no, those don't work. You gotta only do it this way, only with the team that we have. And that kind of sucks. I do like theory crafting. I like weird combos that the devs didn't think of. And instead of punishing the players that find that out by removing that, I think they should like, oh, good, you guys figured it out. Congratulations, you get this easier fight in them. I like them keeping that stuff. I don't like them changing stuff like this. It's after the fact. If you didn't like that, you should have tested that and then released it like that. But don't punish the community for finding out an interesting solution for it.
Yeah, I feel like they don't like theory crafting because they don't want people to use old characters, because part of the way of doing this was using Adam Warlock and the OG Omega Red, right? Yeah, that was part of the strategy, and they don't like that. But I really, what I really think happens, and I had a way harsher take in your video, is they want us to use their.
It was kind of funny.
Yeah, they want everybody to use the prescribed teams like Astral, right?
Yeah.
And the main reason for that is that they don't have to test any of the other characters. No,
you gotta sell it. You can sell Astral. They can sell you Astral. They can't sell you Adam Warlock or the old Omega Red.
Well, not only do they get to sell you stuff, they create a problem and sell you a solution, but they also, because they think that's the only possible solution, they don't have to test the null battle at all. And so they didn't, they just don't have to test it, because they're only going to, we're making sure that this is the only possible strategy people could do. And it feels like they're doing this with all the new kits and new teams. The main thing about null is having the ability to remove barrier. You can remove barrier. You can get past that 12 million barrier, like on the hardest difficulty, and then actually do damage to them, which counts towards your score. And it feels like, if you look at Starjammers, they have anti-barrier mechanics. It feels like they're coming out with all the new characters having anti-barrier solely for the null fight. Otherwise, we were using like Old Man Logan's ultimate has that. And then, what is your take on the shards and the ketchup and all of this?
Yeah, I guess that's good. I didn't really calculate it beforehand, and it looks like if you are at the highest difficulty, you could get null within 2 months because it's 180 unlock. As far as them having characters remove barrier, I think that's a good thing. I don't have a problem with that. I just have a problem with them going back after the fact and kind of punishing people that figure out a creative solution to a problem. The new teams going forward to make it easier, I don't have a problem. They want to make sales. They have to make sales. That's how they're going to try to sell stuff. So I don't have a problem.
Let me ask you a scenario. What if Marvel Strike Force had null? And not just null, but it had several boss fights like null. Not 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, but let's say they had 10 or 20 fights like null, right? Where each boss fight had unique mechanics, and the unique way of beating null was with bleed. And so you build a bleed team. And even though it was unintended, it was creative by the community and it worked. And then the next one's different, and the next one's different. It feels like they don't want us to think. They just want us to buy the teams. And if there's any situation where we're able to use an old character that is unacceptable, and then they change it, right? It drives me crazy. I really just think it's horrible.
It's a weird business model. Some games have a different business model. They've chosen to have this as their business model, and it's supported, not supported. It's weird. It's weird.
I feel like the game's also going in a weird direction where they're fixing things that are working well. Like if you look at Marvel Strike Force as a whole, generally most players get some satisfaction out of playing Crucible. Then leave it alone. They changed that for what? They need to fix the things that people don't like.
They keep screwing up, and they're making fixes. They fix their screw ups, and it changes other things. I think we got like a litany of problems in the game, and it just adds and adds and adds.
Why are they messing around with QR codes that are confusing to use and moving Crucible to the weekends when they could fix the stores? Like, everybody's like, these stores are broken. They don't fix the stores. Do that. Don't do anything else with stuff that works, and fix the stuff that people are actually telling you is broken. I just can't understand it. What are you doing here in this Cupid arrow? We've got what?
One thing, the orb. That's it. That's the only thing. Everything else, eventually you're going to get for free. You could purchase that. This, I guess you can as well with Dark Diamond credits, but I'd rather use it on this and not use my Dark Diamond credits. Old Man Logan Diamonds is the only thing I'm shooting for in the store.
Yeah, 16% chance. That means you're going to have to open like 6 of them, right? And
or one, you could open 100 and get nothing, or you could open one and get it. So I don't know. I hope I get it. Save me some dark diamonds.
You're okay.
Dark diamonds.
And I get it.
Sure.
As far as like the stores, the only remotely interesting store right now is the War Store, where I can get Oath sometimes.
Crucible, because Blades in there. Crucible Blades in there.
Yeah, this is good. I just, there's no chance that at something costing 500, I'm going to be able to ever spend my $2 million.
Well, the good thing is they're using normal. They're using normal Crucible, not the Elite Crucible. So they're kind of giving that away because they already gave that away when they canceled Battle World.
I don't know. They need to fix these stores instead of moving.
I wouldn't say it's fixed. They need to update it. They have not updated in a while. Our currency is topping off. So as soon as they add something to the store, a lot of stores can get everything maxed out right away.
All the people that worked on doing this QR code and all the people that thought about moving Crucible to the weekend should stop doing that and fix the stores. Anyways, that's my take.
Yeah, I agree.
All right.
I don't think we have too many different opinions. I think we agree on a lot.
All right. I was like 1,000%, or I was pissy in your video. I don't know how you're going to edit it, but I was
if you guys want to see him pissy.
Oh my God.
That's kind of funny. Make sure you check out the video.
I didn't drink my caffeine or something, but I was salty.
You know what it was?
What?
We started talking about Raid Shadow Legends right before we started recording. And you thought of how fun that game is, and then like, oh, this is what we're doing. That's what it was.
Yeah, so I am sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends, and I make videos daily on my other channel.
You're having fun with it. It's not a sponsor.
I'm authentically having fun. I really am. I'm authentically having fun. I'll just leave it at that. Link will be in the description. All right.
As soon as it goes up, your video is going to be up before mine. I got to go edit mine.
All right. In the description will be a link to Valley's video, and then if you want to check out Raid Shadow Legends, there'll be a link there too. Bye for now.
Cool. Later, guys.
All right.